Good afternoon. This is Mr. Wien, Superintendent of Mad River Local Schools. Joining me today is Mrs. Wagner, our Assistant Superintendent, and we're here to talk to you about our revised learning options for the 2020-2021 school year. We reviewed all the new data that has come out from the CDC, Public Health, and our own data we collected within our district in order to revise our plan. Fortunately, our pre-K through 6 plan is a viable plan that we will be able to implement for the 2020-2021 school year. We will have all the safety protocols in place in order to effectively implement that plan. Our 7 through 12 plan we did have to modify due to the number of transitions and the 50% capacity in our cafeterias during lunch. That's a challenge for us to manage, so we did have to modify the plan, and we will have a hybrid in-person option in addition to the remote option for Mad River Middle School and Stebbins High School. Mrs. Wagner, would you like to talk a little bit about the remote options for all of our buildings, because I do know that some of our parents had questions about what remote learning would look like in Mad River Local Schools.
Yes. Thank you to all of you who have already applied. I know that this could be concerning to you that there is another option and you have already applied. And just rest assured that if you decide you want to change because of the revision to our plan, that is acceptable. We will absolutely work with you on that. However, also know that you do have to apply by August 3rd. If you're interested in remote learning at all, please make sure that you have your application in by August 3rd, because that is our deadline. We have to plan, and that is the date that gives us the most time to have everything ready to go. A couple of pieces within remote learning: you do have to have Wi-Fi at home, reliable Wi-Fi. The district is going to be providing an opportunity for any families that would need to check out a device. But the Wi-Fi piece is definitely an important piece. And I know we'll talk through some other pieces in the plan of some common questions that have come up when we're getting to more of the high school level. There's been some specific questions.
So at this time, we're going to take you building by building, grade level by grade level, in order to help you understand what this plan looks like. First of all, for preschool. Preschool is in-person only. There is no remote option for preschool. And again, we have all the safety protocols and the health protocols in place to provide a safe in-person environment for our preschool setting. Next, our K-4 buildings. Our K-4 buildings will have 2 options. The first is an in-person option, and again, we will have all the safety protocols and healthy habits in place for our students in order to go to school on time every day, Monday through Friday. The remote option for our elementary schools looks a little bit different than our secondary option. And Mrs. Wagner, if you could talk about that just a little bit.
So for our remote students that are in our elementaries, we are working on schedules to have our actual elementary teachers teaching our kids that are remote. We're able to do this based on the number of families that are interested in this piece at this time. Again, when you're applying for remote, you're agreeing to a semester. And because of that, the reason why we're doing that is because we have to staff both in-person and remote. So just keep that in mind as you're making your decision. We've heard overwhelmingly that our families want our elementary teachers to be teaching our elementary students. And so we are working hard to make that happen.
And a fortunate part of the remote option for our elementary buildings is the fact that it does reduce the number of students for the in-person experience. So we will have smaller class sizes and smaller number of students in our elementary buildings due to the remote learning option that some of our families have chosen.
I should mention too, remote option would be for families that you know that you're going to have childcare available during the day. Please do not opt in to remote learning if you do not have that possibility within your home. These are students that are going to be getting on and needing support, especially our youngest students.
For our 5-6 building, it will look very similar to our elementary buildings. We will have a full day, Monday through Friday, in-person option for our families, practicing health safety protocols that we have in place for our buildings. We will also have a remote option for our 5-6 students. Due to the number of families that have applied for the remote option for our 5-6 building, it has reduced the number of students that will be present for the in-person experience at our 5-6 building. And Mrs. Wagner, would you like to talk a little bit about the remote experience that parents can expect at the 5-6 building?
Yes, again, very similar to what we're looking at for elementary, but using district teachers to provide the instruction. And something I should also mention with remote, there's been a lot of questions of, does my child have to be on every day at this time? And the answer is yes. We're trying to structure the at-home learning as close as we can to what an actual day would be like. It won't be solid time in front of a computer, because we know that that is also not healthy. However, there will be expectations of live teacher times for our students.
Thank you. Matter Middle School will have a hybrid in-person option where 50% of our students will attend Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and 50% of our students will attend on Tuesday and Thursday. This will be a rotating schedule based on the last name in the alphabet. So for example, A through K will attend 50% of the time on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on week 1. L through Z will attend 50% of the time that first week on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then that will switch on a weekly basis for both groups. We also have a remote option for our 7-8 building, and that looks a little bit different than what we've talked about as far as our K-6 remote option. But the goal is to make sure we provide the best experience we can for our students virtually if families choose that option. Mrs. Wagner, would you like to talk about the 7-8 option?
Yes, we are really still in planning stage because it's going to depend a lot on the number of our students that are still wanting remote versus now this hybrid model. So after we know those numbers, that's when staffing really can be decided. So after we get through discussing our plan today and we hear from families on, okay, what is going to be your top choice for your child, then we'll be able to look a little bit closer at assigning staff. But again, the goal is Mad River teachers working with your student in some capacity, whether it is office hours at the end of the day to check in on how they're doing on an online platform, or if it is our Mad River teachers delivering the instruction to the students. And so we're still keeping that connection to our staff for Mad River Middle.
Fantastic. The last building is Stebbins High School. Stebbins High School's opportunities or options will look the same as our 7-8 building. The in-person is a hybrid where we will have 50% of our students attend Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and 50% attend Tuesday, Thursday on a rotating basis week by week based on the last name and a letter in the alphabet. So for example, A through K, L through Z will be the two different cohorts of students for the in-person hybrid option. The other option is a remote option for our students. And based on the number of students participating in the remote option, it will reduce the number of actual students in the building for the in-person option. Stebbins is a little bit more complex, especially when it comes to the remote learning component. So I would suggest that as Mrs. Wagner describes what that looks like and what that means, especially for students that participate in career tech, in band, or any other extracurriculars, parents pay specific attention to the details she's going to share. Mrs. Wagner?
I think it's especially important for families to think about, for example, some of the questions that we've seen. If your student is a career tech student, is career tech still a possibility when you are 100% remote learning? And the answer is no. We have to have our students in labs and working towards certifications so that they are job ready when they leave us or college bound. Another example of a question that families really need to take into consideration, I think it's a positive one, but if your student is interested in sports or extracurriculars, would they be allowed to still participate in those if they are 100% remote? And the answer is yes, they would still be able to do that. But specific programs being offered through remote learning will be limited. So take that into consideration as you are planning for what is best for your freshman through senior, because there are going to be some limited options when you apply for the remote learning. Still a possible path to graduation. However, it's not going to be the same experience that you would receive at Stebbins, because we have put in now, with the hybrid schedule, less students being face-to-face in person at a time to enable our teachers to actually have as much access as possible to our students.
Thank you, Mrs. Wagner. The bottom line, parents, is we have two options, and you need to choose the best option for your child. We will do everything we can to provide an equitable experience for our students in Matterhorn local schools. And although the options are not perfect, it is the best that we can do as far as the solution in Matterhorn local schools to serve our students, and our students are our number one priority. If you should have any questions about remote learning, please contact remotelearning@matterhornschools.org. Thank you. We appreciate your support, and go Indians.